So
You seem a little worried, Trevor.
So America's Future education program
Yeah.
we have builds informative, active citizenry to encourage citizens to seek the truth, which you are about, and get involved in their communities. How important do you consider local civic engagement by citizens, which is what we do at America's Future? How important is
Well, it's
that?
obviously the most important thing. I mean, the closer government is to you, the more important it is to have some say in how it's run. And I mean, I say in my own life, I've been much more hassled by, the selectmen in my town than I have been by the FBI.
Right.
I mean, your brother's a great exception. Of course, he was hassled by the
Exactly.
FBI, but most of us don't kind of
Right.
get to that level. Most of us are, driven crazy, pecked to death or to insanity by, some bureaucrat or school board that we meet on a much more tangible level. And so, yeah, of course. And what's crazy is that most people I know are much more likely to run for governor than they are to run for city council or school board. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe because there's not the prestige that attaches to it, but I think it's probably less important to serve in Congress than it is on the school board.
Right. And there's only 7 states in this country that have curriculum that is, they teach civics to graduate from high school.
So why is that, I
So
wonder?
isn't that
So you don't
interesting?
teach the next generation of citizens what citizenship is.
Right. They
I wonder why.
Right.
because they're trying to take it away from you. That's
right.
why.
They don't want to know the history of this country, right?
Or
And-
how
and
it
what
works,
we
or what
stand
your
for.
rights
Right.
are, or that, for example,
Founding
that they're
documents.
inalienable. They weren't granted to you by the government. You were born with them. You got them from God at birth, and government's only job is to protect them. And so they can't be taken from you under any circumstances.
That's right.
And so that's the core idea of America, right there. That's why America is exceptional. All these grifters running around lecturing you about how America is exceptional. What does that mean? Well, it means one thing.
That's right.
This is the one country whose government's only purpose is to protect the rights that God granted you. And if you don't teach kids that, then it doesn't exist anymore.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, and that's what America's Future does.
Don't tell me what to say.
Sounds like
I'm
General
not taking
Flynn
orders
to
from you
me.
or anyone else. How's that?
That's what General Flynn says to me. Don't you tell me what to say. Okay, brother. Okay, here we go. So we go, why is it vital to our nation that America's Future Get in the Fight, which is Get in the Fight, grassroots education program, why would it be very important to implement this in every state across the nation?
Well, because Washington's corrupt, that's why. And because the corrupting power of Washington is just overwhelming. I mean, the number of people, good people, really smart, principled people I know, who've won some election or other, gone to Washington and been transformed for the worst by it, is I could bore you. I keep you here for 3 days telling you all the stories that I have seen personally.
I know you have.
And the reason is really simple. It's the largest organization in human history. The federal government has the most power and the most money of any organization ever, including Rome. And so it's really hard for the individual to sort of face off against that and say, I'm sticking to my principles. No, you're not. You're going to be subverted by some creepy interest group representing some creepy foreign country.
Right.
I see it every single day.
Yes.
And so the real work of reforming the country has to begin outside of its capital.
Right.
With groups like America's Future.
And
there's kind of no option, right?
We have to build educated
You
citizens,
elect some Congress
active
douche and then
citizens.
just hope it's going to be better after that.
Right.
And
we saw this election. One of the greatest things that I believe that General Flynn did was push local action. And I saw this work, this getting involved in your community, run for office, go work the polls. These, you think nitty-gritty jobs, but they're extremely important. And this building citizenry is so important to this country.
Well, but you also hope, if, the people in charge violate the Constitution, ignore the Bill of Rights, and try and strip from you your inalienable rights, then you do hope that people at a certain point are going to take nonviolent direct action. Like, no, I'm not paying my taxes. No, I'm not going to move.
Right.
No, you can't come in my house. I mean, there has to be a point where people just say, you're not God.
That's right.
And I'm not going to worship you like God.
That's right.
And sort of, here I stand. Go full Martin Luther. I know you're Catholic, but we
no.
can learn something from Martin Luther.
Listen,
from
I
that
know.
German monk, you know what I mean?
My Protestant husband says the same thing.
From his intransigence I
It's
think
wonderful. I love it. I love it. It's great. It's a great. The Irish are very,
they're the best.
We have the fights between the,
Boy. When they
Protestant,
get rolling, man,
Catholics,
the Irish,
you
I'm
said
never
it.
quite sure what side they're on, but whatever it is,
No.
they are taking up its cause with maximum
Well, because
vigor.
they're highly intelligent.
They're intelligent,
That's why.
and they're the most intense people in the world.
They are. They're very.
Do you remember what Sigmund Freud said about the Irish?
No!
That's right. That's right, Mel.
He said he could help anybody except them. He said, because they're crazy.
They're crazy.
That's basically it.
That is so true, but I love them. They're my favorite. But yeah, they're crazy. Yeah.
So I got one more question, and we're going to talk about the legal work.
Yeah.
Okay, so how important, to get in and try to, these very unconstitutional decisions that have been made. We've just watched 4 years of unbelievable overreach and so
insane.
forth. And so we have, these incredible cases like the Chevron case that we were a
Yes.
part of, and we were on the only amicus that was filed on the Fisher case, which is the J6 case.
Yes.
And because we filed that, the Supreme Court took it because of our argument, and then all of a sudden everybody went, oh, maybe we should jump on this case.
Yes.
These legal decisions, these pieces that we have to keep fighting, and it's a very important thing to keep fighting against all these decisions in the Supreme Court. Like Texas is having the problems with the border and so forth. There's hundreds of cases that we've
Yes.
been on, and it's just I just want to.
Well, no one else is doing it.
Right, exactly.
Right, so that's the point. If the Fisher case has one amicus and it's yours, that tells you everything. So for 100 years, you had this kind of great system where the biggest and most prestigious law firms would allow their lawyers, including their partners,
Yeah.
to work what they call pro bono for free.
Pro bono, yeah.
As an act of charity on behalf of any kind of public interest
Right.
action. And it was mostly left, but it was not exclusively
That's
left.
right.
Like the NRA for years benefited from pro bono work by big time lawyers. And then after Trump's election, and particularly after 2020, they shut that down.
Yeah.
And so, no, their partners are not allowed to represent Trump
That's
or
right.
represent, the J6 defendants and Fisher come out against the Chevron decision or
Exactly.
basically balance out any of the permanent nonprofit NGO state that works in tandem with the Democratic Party and the media to turn this into an authoritarian country.
Right.
So
That's right.
there just aren't that many groups
No, there aren't.
doing what you're doing, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah,
Chevron
it's,
especially. I just wish
Chevron
someone would
especially.
explain why it's important.
Yes,
Because it's the return of democracy.
It is.
You want a law, Congress has to pass it.
that's right.
You can't just have a bunch of people, unfireable, unionized bureaucrats making all your laws.
No,
Like,
you can't.
that's tyranny.
And that's the Chevron case. It's
Yeah, I
the
know.
40 years of bureaucracy, all these bureaucrats fighting, and this is what we're up against right now.
But they're not accountable to voters,
No.
so that's not democracy,
No,
right?
they're
How is that democracy?
No, I know, and they're literally doing like the dirty work that the mob. It's a criminal entity when they use these bureaucrats.
Well,
It's like
yeah.
sending them out to do the dirty work to actually terrorize the communities. That's what they're doing.
Well, and they have guns.
Exactly.
And no one
Exactly.
voted for them, and they're not acting on the basis of law, but instead of regulation,
That's
which
right.
again has never been voted on by anybody.
That's right.
And that means, just to put it simply, that since no one took civics, the average citizen has no recourse at all.
That's right.
You can't vote out a bureaucrat. You have no power whatsoever.
Very
And that's
important.
up and down, by the way, from the national security state, especially operates that way,
Exactly.
but so does the administrative state. So
Yeah.
all these yappers on MSNBC and that creepy Scarborough guy and his
Mm-hmm.
weird dead-eyed girlfriend or wife now, I guess, they're always talking about how we need to whatever.
You're right.
Their names are.
I'm with you.
But they're always like,
I'm
we
with
need
you.
to defend democracy. Well, democracy is really simple. It's a mechanism by which
Yeah.
the people who live in a country rule the country
That's right.
through the representatives.
That's right.
And this ends it. And so,
Yeah.
like, what the hell are you talking about? If you're for democracy, which, by the way, I am, then how can you defend the administrative state?
That's right.
But they do.
They do.
Sorry.
Well,
and I don't mean to single out
Yeah, no,
that
I
Scarborough
know.
guy, but he's especially creepy,
Oh
don't
yeah,
you think?
well they are. I mean, this, the other thing
Yeah.
that I think that people need to understand is this is an informational warfare that we've been in.
Yeah.
It's an insidious warfare because you don't see shooting and bombs and stuff. You see nothing. You see this stuff, these messagings going through, and everybody's on the same talking points. And the media is like that, but it's an insidious war that people have been going through with this information, this
Well, especially
misinformation.
a lot of relatively powerless people. I mean, it's fine if you're like a cable news host with
Right.
controversial opinions or, Trump is an exception. He's a powerful person who's really been put to the very limit of testing. But for most of us who are, have opinions that contradict those of the left, we're pretty safe.
Yeah.
But you get some like school board candidate in some little town who's like, wait a second, you're turning my kid's tranny? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. That guy gets debanked, arrested, goes to jail for assault because of his opinions. Or you see that all the time. Like no one's defending the weakest.
No, that's right.
And that's what distresses me. And they write me letters often from prison.
Yes, we get them all the time. I mean, I've got a young woman with 5 children. She was praying outside one of the Planned Parenthoods, and she's arrested. She was peacefully praying. I mean, prayer. That's another thing.
You shouldn't be praying.
You should never pray. Don't pray. But you
know why they arrest you for praying? Because it works.
It works.
It works. Praying works. Tucker. Arresting you doesn't work.
Tucker, prayer was the reason the Flynns got through what we got through was prayer. Okay, not only they helped us, pay his bills and that kind of thing, but I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the American people and their prayers, and by the way, all over the world prayer is powerful. If you can't do anything else, you pray.
Well, I believe
it. And people say, what can I do? What can I do? Well, pray. Yeah. Just pray.
Well, I didn't used to think that at all, but now I know that that's true.
I've done it. I've done it my whole life.
Yeah, well, you were way ahead of the game for me. That's I think one advantage New England Catholics had. They never doubted that was true, but I didn't know it until recently. But it is absolutely true.
Well, my mother was a prayer warrior.
Yeah, that works. You just need one in the house.
Her mantle. She was a prayer warrior for babies. That's what she was. One of the first two women that founded the National Right to Life movement in this country.
Really?
Yes, Helen Flynn.
What did she know about babies, though?
Nothing.
How many did she have?
She had 9.
I love that.
Okay, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
That's
we're
so
good.
cool.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thank you.
Thank you.